Welcome back. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about trusting the plan. And we always try to bring you inspirational guests that we know illustrate what we're trying to really ignite in you today, get you into action today. And I'd like to welcome Ashley Wayne to the show.
Hi, thanks so much. Glad to be here.
So happy to have you. And for everybody listening, you know my story. I'm legally blind, right, to retinitis pigmentosa, but Ashley is blind too. I feel like we are soul sisters, different mothers, but kindred spirits. And honestly, Ashley, although I have retinitis pigmentosa and lost my vision from 16 on, you were born actually without vision. In what way? What happened?
I was born 3 months premature, only weighed like 2 pounds and 1 ounce, I think it was. And I could see for the first couple months, but I was in the incubator for most of that time. And then when I finally was able to come home, lost my sight pretty quickly after that. Both retinas detached from the optic nerve. I don't really know why. There's a few different theories, but I don't know
Well,
for sure.
I give you a lot of credit because I think it's already just awkward growing up as an adolescent, teenager, and beyond. I mean, I'm still trying to grow up, right?
Definitely.
You too. We're just big kids now. But to go through things, feeling different. You were one of the only blind people in your school. Trying to go through those years of wanting to date and make friends and learn Braille and white cane training. I mean, Braille is so hard. Everybody listening, I just think it's so hard. And I know you explored a guide dog. I have my Frosty, my big boy, my guide dog. But along the way, I think a lot of times for people who do have a disability of different kinds, we wonder, gosh, will anybody ever love me? Right? There's this love piece because we are so different. And well, life has given you some challenges. It gave you Luke, your husband, and that is a treasure. And at such an early age, you met him. And I know you had about 6 years or so together, really to cement that romance. But then you wanted to start to build a family. And again, for many who have disabilities of different kinds, that can be kind of scary of, can I, what does that look like? Can I do it? And you decided that you wanted to adopt. It has kind of been a thing that you and your husband had talked about. Why adoption?
Well, for a couple reasons. We so it was pretty prevalent in Luke's family. So growing up, he was very familiar with and had a lot of family that was adopted, and so it meant a lot to him personally. And before Luke and I were married, I worked a stint in child welfare and just saw the need of so many kids without homes, and so it was always on my heart. And so when we were finally in a place, financially and a good living arrangement, it was, it didn't take a lot of thought to realize, this is the direction we want to go.
And when you started that journey, looking at adoptions here in the States or adoptions, internationally, how hard was that?
It proved to be a bit more challenging than I would have thought. We ended up meeting with different families from our church who had gone through the various routes for adoption, in-state, private adoptions, and a good friend of ours actually is the one who suggested that we look at overseas adoption and particularly focus on blind children, who would be growing up in very difficult environments with no access to the technology that we have and the cane training and all the things that I know I can really take for granted, living in the 21st century and being in the United States. So we started looking into that, but even there, a lot of agencies wouldn't accept us because we didn't make enough money, or some countries considered my blindness a deterrent and that I wouldn't be a safe parent. So it took us a while to find an agency and a country that would work with us.
Well, you are so loving, but I just want to tell you, let's hear it for Bulgaria, right? Um, and if
Exactly.
travel and ticket sales go up there after today's show, then awesome, right? So you tell us about Lexi and John real quick here. I would love to have them understand those two.
Oh, definitely. You don't have to ask me twice to brag about my kids. uh, Lexi, when she came home, she was 2.5, and I will never forget, she only weighed 21 pounds. So tiny due to malnutrition. She had best we could tell, we met them, a loving foster family in Bulgaria. They just didn't have a lot of resources, and so they did what they could for her. Um, she is 13 now, which is just crazy. She's 13, and she is really into tech, anything tech. That's her passion right now. John, he came home when he was 8, and also, very malnourished. He was not mobile when we brought him home. We found out fairly quickly, not out of inability to walk. It's just no one had been able to work with him. They had a lot of other charges in the orphanage to tend to, and so he spent a lot of his time just on a couch listening to the radio. And so he came home and a lot of work, but he's walking now, and he's 17, and he is a wonderful, gifted piano player.
I love that. I love that. And piano playing, Lexi, she's doing her tech thing, but they're successful at the ages they are, despite both having blindness, John even having cerebral palsy on top of it. I mean, they just, they could have gone so many directions, but you and Luke being open to that international adoption, you pressing forward, accepting all those no's until you got a yes. I mean, the family was born, and if you had just had those two, you probably would have been just a perfect family of four. But you did decide to try to adopt again. But while you were in that adoption, you got some news. Who was that?
I did. Found out I was pregnant, and it was surprising, to say the least. We've been trying that route for a long time, and just nothing, had ever happened, and doctors, weren't sure why, and so.
And the reason why I say that, Ashley, is because for everybody who's like, I can't get pregnant, give it some time, okay? Now stay with us, because Ashley didn't just get one gift, she got two. So we'll be coming right back after this break. Thank you for joining us today. I am Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. We're talking about trusting the plan, and our inspirational guest today, Ashley Wayne, what a superstar mom, and I'd like to welcome her back to the show.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here.
Yep, and we were just talking about how Bulgaria gave you two gifts, right, in terms of Lexi and John. And then the natural babies started coming, right? We had William and Lizzie. And that was after almost thinking you couldn't do it naturally. You did. Now, Ashley, here's the thing. You went from, having to not beg and plead, but the struggles of adoption, to all of a sudden being a mom of 4 and with special needs. And even Lexi had her own special needs early on. And so here you are doing your best, but is it hard, and how did you find the strength as a blind mom yourself to look after all these kiddos? I mean, I would wonder, what are they eating? Are they choking? Can I find them on the playground?
It is very hard. Some days it's good when just everyone's dressed and fed and gotten the school done. I just take it one day at a time. and um, do a lot of praying. And I do rely on, my husband and friends, and it all manages to get done. Maybe a bit messier than a sighted mom, but it all gets done.
Well, and when we talk today about, trusting the plan, sometimes it's hard to wrestle with why can't I get pregnant, naturally, like before you did the adoptions. Or sometimes it's hard to wrestle with, man, if I could just give me, Lexi, John's sight, and Lizzie was the healthiest she could be, like why can't everything just be healthy and perfect? And I'm sure you've had some conversations with God. I know you're a woman of faith. But when we talk today about trusting the plan, do you think this is all God's plan? And in what way?
I do, in the sense that um, I think somehow all this brings him glory, and it brings me closer to him, and it conforms me to the image of Christ. Um, it's definitely not the road I would have picked for myself, but I, I do believe that he has a plan for all my kids, and that their special needs and my blindness, none of that was a random accident. That there is a sovereign God behind it, and I may not see the reasons, this side of eternity, but I do absolutely believe that.
I have, I'm one of three sisters. We all three have RP, and we're all legally blind. And in my own truth, I know there's times, I don't dwell in it, but there are times I wish I could see something. Like I just went to Las Vegas recently. I went to the Sphere. I saw the Eagles and I could hear all the music. It was great. But I wish I could have seen what my mom could see. And so, how do you sometimes wrestle with wishing you could see things your kids are doing, moments of growth for them growing up?
I definitely do wrestle through that. It's been interesting having William, who's sighted. Lizzie is also, but she can't communicate in the same way. But in a way, I get to live through him. Like, I love hearing his descriptions and excitement of things as he observes the world. And I try and just uh, enjoy everything that I do have. I can, hear them and all the other ways that I can participate in their lives. And it's not the same, but it's still an amazing gift. And yeah, do the best that I can. But there are days, definitely,
Yeah,
when I'd love to
and
see them.
and on those there are days, dot dot dot, question mark, exclamation mark, you could fill in any marks there. How do you and Luke keep your love alive? How do you keep yourself from being roommates and giving it all over to the kids? Because again, I really believe it takes seeing, what a mom's role is, a dad's role is, loving marriage. How do you manage that?
I think it's a daily process, and even from the simple thing of we have our tea and coffee, together in the morning, listening to our jazz station, just a simple 10 minutes start to the day to kind of keep us set and centered, like this is, where our family is rooted. We try and make regular dates and, just try and really be intentional with it, because it is a daily reminder that, yeah, we're not just roommates. um,
It's hard, right? You got to really work at it, and you're not a stranger to working, hard work, putting in the work. I mean, I think that just comes with all the things that I know you and I have to mentally learn, right? I feel like everything's work, right? But at the end of the day, for somebody who feels like, well, I haven't quite found my Luke yet, but one day when I do, or if they have found their Luke and we want to start a family, if somebody is considering adoption, what would be your biggest tip to them to save them some time or heartbreak?
That is a good question. I think, you depending, you decide which route you want to go. Do your research. There's definitely advantages and disadvantages to each way, domestic, international, um, and then just like you said earlier, just keep going until you get a yes. You know that you're capable and competent and would be a great parent. Just expect there might be some rejection at first, but I really believe there will be a yes. It just may take time to find it.
And your connection to adoption and your relationship to God is actually special. In what way?
Adoption is mentioned in the Bible as an analogy of how we were brought into the family of Christ through the gospel. And so it's an extremely special connection that way. And to see John and Lexi in particular, who she's ethnic Bulgarian and he is Roma, in country, those groups really don't like each other. And so for them to be loving siblings is really incredible as well, and a great picture.
I love that. And that's something that is, a gift along this stressful journey. And sometimes people will say, well, God won't give you more than you can handle. And you're not in love with that statement. Why?
I'm surprised you remember that. Yeah, um, I think um, if I could handle it, then I wouldn't need him. So I think in a sense we are given more than we can handle on our own, so that we'll turn to him. At least that's definitely been my experience.
And as we kind of round out today's interview, I guess what my last question I really want to know is, in terms of, like, because you are a woman of faith, and just all the different things of your kiddos and your own experience, your own life experience, what has living full out, or what does living full out mean to you?
I think it means doing what you believe you need to do, and learning how to, for me at least, learning how to um, accept help when I need it, but also not let my blindness, in my case, limit me. And I think it's a combination of that, of accepting help, and also not letting myself be dragged down by my blindness, and just doing what needs to be done every day.
I love that you said that. I remember there was that time, right, when you were dating Luke and he opened the door for you and you're like, no, I can do it myself. Back off. Okay, maybe not that, but, and then you had the early time of Lizzie and the bathroom experience where, her doo-doo was all over, and you did run to a neighbor and asked for help. And I know that was hard at the time, but when you look back on that, you asked for help. Have you grown more since then? Are you now asking for more and more help, or still resistant?
I would say I'm definitely asking for more help, especially as the number of kids has continued to grow. I've come to realize there are some tasks for which vision is just a necessity, or just so much easier. And so, hey, I've gotten a lot. It's gotten a lot easier to ask a neighbor or a friend if they're coming over anyway. Although I usually try and clean up the diapers myself so that I don't lose those friendships.
Well, boy, isn't the kids going to be all surprised when one day you tell them, "Just kidding, I've seen you this whole time," But the truth is, I believe humor is so critical when it comes to the life you lead, blind, mothering four kiddos that are really all still young. And, I think about things I do, all the TV, radio stuff. I wish I could see behind the scenes of all of it. But that's where I also know that you and I, we dream in color. and we see with our minds and our hearts. And thank you so much for being on today's show. And we just will, keep your family. Well, I say keep your family growing. I don't think it's going to grow anymore, but we will. We just applaud you. You are just a shining star. Thank you, Ashley.
Oh, thanks so much.
And for everybody listening, just like Ashley, if you've got a story, inspirational, you've gone through it, heartbreaks, something you've learned, I want to hear from you. Perhaps have you on the show. Reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com. Let us know what you went through, how you got through it, what you learned, your contact info. And most of all, we want to know, how do you want to give back to this community? What do you most want to share? Because that's what it's all about as we live full out together.